What's going on YouTube? Craig the Travel Zombie here, and today we're in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we're here to talk about a legendary wrestler that most of you, if not all of you, have heard of, the Ultimate Warrior. We're going to talk about his early life. We're going to talk a little bit about his time in the WWF, now WWE, but mostly we're going to talk about his time after wrestling and his reconciliation with the WWF. And we're going to visit the actual location of his wrestling school slash gym, Warrior University. And then we're going to visit the location where he left us. My name is Craig. I am the Travel Zombie, and welcome to Prime Time. So before we get started here, I just want to give credit to Jordan the Lion. I'm going to leave a card linking to his video up in the corner of this video right now. I want to give credit to Jordan because he actually found this place, as far as I know, and he pointed out that in the Ultimate Warrior workout video, you can actually see Ultimate Warrior driving his Ultimate Warrior monster truck up and parking right here, and you can actually see that archway right there in the background. So he parks right here, and then he comes around and walks over to the gym, which the entrance is right here. So we have to be kind of quick because they're about to start doing the floors in here. But I wanted to give you guys a look around anyway.
What else do we need? We need the utensils.
And so here it is. You can see the high ceilings too, because at one point there was a wrestling ring in here. Now, I know for a fact that there are some lockers that are in the back here that are original to the Warrior University days. Unfortunately, we can't get back there today because since they're doing the floors, there's a bunch of stuff piled up in front of them, so we wouldn't be able to see them anyway. But the good news is Jordan the Lion was able to get back there, and so I'll leave a link, as I said, to his video. There's the card earlier in the video, and I'll also leave a link in the description. And special thanks to the manager, I believe, inside. I didn't get his name, but him and another employee were very, very sweet and welcoming when I asked them about this. And the employee at the register actually pointed me directly to these signatures out here. There's the signature and footprints of Dana Warrior, Ultimate Warrior's wife. There is the Ultimate Warrior symbol and his signature. And you might be, yeah, you can see it. His handprint. Always believe, his saying. 1/14/95. I would assume that was the opening date of the gym. So if you ever come here and you want to see those signatures, the entrance is right over here. And the signatures, if you look for this first window panel right here, they're right there underneath this table. So the employees here were actually super, super sweet and accommodating. So if you ever get a chance, if you're ever in Scottsdale, come check the place out. New York Bagels and Bialys, 10320 North Scottsdale Road, number 400B. So the folks at the bagel shop, which used to be Warrior University, were really, really lovely. What's funny is none of them knew about the place's history as Warrior University. One of them was able to point me to where the signatures are, but that's about it. They didn't know who the signatures were from or anything like that. And so I actually got to tell them about the story of the place where they work. And I got to talk to this, I didn't get his name, but I got to talk to this very nice older gentleman who was a fan of WWF during Warriors era. And when I told him that the place that he worked used to be owned by Ultimate Warrior and that it was his gym and former wrestling school, he looked so happy. He had the biggest smile on his face, which I love. That's probably my favorite part of getting to do this is educating people, teaching them things about places that they never otherwise would have known and making people's day like that. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. This is all about me getting to take you guys on a journey with me. And hopefully, you guys learn something. Hopefully, you guys are entertained. Warrior started bodybuilding in 1984 and won the NPC Mr. Georgia competition. He later trained with fellow bodybuilder Steve Borden, who would later become the wrestling legend Sting, and formed a tag team known as the Blade Runners. He decided to become a singles star and adopted the name Dingo Warrior in World Class Championship Wrestling, which was the promotion that was owned and run by the Von Erich family. He joined the WWF in June 1987, where his popularity skyrocketed, resulting in him winning the Intercontinental Championship and later in a monumental title versus title match with Hulk Hogan, the WWF champion. And Warrior ended up winning that match. His relationship with Vince McMahon was fundamentally volatile and came to a boiling point when, prior to SummerSlam 1991, he wrote a letter to McMahon demanding that he be paid on par with Hogan or Warrior wouldn't go to the ring. The company met his demands but immediately suspended him for 90 days. McMahon's suspension letter called Warrior impossible to work with and claimed Warrior had completely forgotten his obligations to the company and its fans. The letter was the opening salvo in what would become a war between the two parties that would define the next 17 years of their relationship. The war was galvanized in 2005 with the release of the DVD documentary The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, which I actually owned, by the way, which was described at the time as a complete burial of the man and character. The documentary featured an archive of unflattering comments from past and present wrestlers and WWE employees who criticized his in-ring capabilities, his promos, and his perceived unprofessional behavior. Warrior was invited to participate but declined. The documentary was widely viewed as a hit piece and was later viewed as revisionist history, due to many of the people involved making conflicting statements about Warrior after their reconciliation. Reconciliation began when Warrior penned an open letter to McMahon saying it was time to tell one of sports entertainment's greatest stories. WWE made a number of public olive branches, most notably the inclusion of Warrior in WWE video games, which required McMahon's approval. The primary individual responsible for brokering the reconciliation was Stephen Wilton, Warrior's agent, whom he described as instrumental in the process. On the company's side, key figures included a lawyer named Scott Heyman and, most critically, Triple H, a former critic of Warriors, marking a monumental shift in the company's attitude towards Warrior. Triple H had the authority to greenlight the deal and worked directly with Wilton to do so. The process was ultimately successful, leading to the signing of a long-term deal that would bring Warrior back into the company's fold as an ambassador. The reconciliation culminated in the Ultimate Warrior's induction into the WWE Hall of Fame on April 5th, 2014 in New Orleans. Warrior personally chose Linda McMahon to induct him due to their close personal relationship when he worked there. Warrior's speech was emotional as he walked on the stage with his wife Dana and 2 daughters by his side. Warrior announced that he had signed a new long-term deal with WWE to serve as an ambassador for the company, marking a long-awaited end to a bitter rivalry. So in addition to Vince McMahon, there was another reconciliation with Warrior that took place that weekend of WrestleMania 30. And that reconciliation was with the immortal Hulk Hogan, who we just recently lost as well. And Triple H at the time had asked Hulk Hogan not to approach Warrior until after the weekend's festivities were over, because he didn't want to risk upsetting Warrior. Well, Hulk Hogan and Warrior happened to run into each other backstage while touring the venue where WrestleMania was going to be happening that weekend. And so Warrior and Hogan, they got up and they talked to each other. They hugged, they shook hands. Hogan apologized for the things that he had said, and Warrior told him that those things that he had said had hurt, but that Warrior had also made mistakes and said things that he regretted. And so the two of them, they released that hate that they had for each other. They released that animosity that they had for each other. And it couldn't have happened at a more perfect time. I mean, obviously, we all wish that it could have happened sooner so that they could have created more memories together. But at least it happened. After his Hall of Fame induction on April 5th, Warrior would go on to appear on stage at WrestleMania 30 on April 6th. Then, the next day, April 7th, 2014, was his last ever public appearance on Monday Night Raw. And during that appearance, he made an eerie statement that a lot of people believe was him predicting his own death, when he said, "Every man's heart one day beats its final beat. His lungs breathe their final breath. And if what that man did in his life makes the blood pulse through the body of others and makes them believe deeper in something larger than life, then his essence, his spirit, will be immortalized by the storytellers, by the loyalty, by the memory of those who honor him and make the running the man did live forever." On April 8th, 2014, just one day after his appearance on Raw, Warrior collapsed while walking to his car with his wife right here at what was then called the Gainey Suites Hotel. It is now the Sonesta Suites Hotel in Scottsdale, Arizona. He was transported to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced dead with no signs of foul play. The Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office determined the cause of death as cardiovascular disease. Wrestling legend Bruno Sammartino said he saw Warrior at the Hall of Fame ceremony and that Warrior was breathing heavily and sweating profusely. Now, it's unclear exactly where this occurred, whether it was this parking lot out in front of the entrance of the hotel, or there's another parking lot right over this way that I'm also going to show you just in case. but it was somewhere around here. And I know some people would question why I would show you this, why I would come here. And during my 9/11 videos, I briefly touched on how I believe that visiting these places and remembering these stories are a way to connect to the people involved with them. And it's no different here. I believe that seeing the places that are where these people passed away, where they saw their last surroundings, where they left this earth, helps us feel closer to them. And at the end of the day, helps us remember them. And now that we've seen where the Ultimate Warrior sadly passed away, we're going to go and visit two of his WWE Hall of Fame colleagues whose final resting place is right here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And if you recognize that drive-in, if you recognize this archway, thank you, because that means you've probably saw my videos from earlier this year where I visited this exact same cemetery. And there it is. The statue that we talked about the last time we were here. And if you walk just over this way, we were talking earlier about fellow WWE Hall of Famers. And here's another one. Eduardo Gory Guerrero. I talked about this earlier this year when I came here and did a full video on the life and the struggles of Eddie Guerrero. But Eddie was a hero of mine. I grew up in a family with addicts and alcoholics. And so seeing him overcome his struggles with drug addiction and alcoholism and making it to the pinnacle of his industry meant the world to me. And if you want to watch that video where I go more in depth about it, I'll leave a link. I'll leave a card right up in the corner. At the end of that very same video, I also acknowledged this and later came back and did another video here on a second WWE Hall of Famer. And the nice part about it is, it's not hard to find his grave either. All you do is just go straight to the right here. And right behind the statue that I just showed you is WWE Hall of Famer Superstar Billy Graham. Now, I'll be honest, until I did the video on him, I really didn't know much about Superstar Billy Graham at all. Mostly just because he was before my time. I didn't start watching wrestling until the late 1990s, and which, of course, was when a lot of people started watching wrestling. It was one of the biggest boom periods in the history of wrestling. But upon doing my research for the video, I realized just how integral he was in the fact that every WWE superstar is now called a WWE superstar because of Superstar Billy Graham. He was the one that inspired Vince McMahon to use that moniker for his wrestlers instead of just calling them wrestlers. And with that, our time together today has sadly come to an end yet again. I know, sad zombie noises as always, right? I agree. So, I've got more content planned for the channel in the coming weeks and months. It's my favorite time of year, Halloween season, which means we're gonna start hitting fall festivals and hopefully some haunted houses too. So, hit that like button, hit that share button, and hit that subscribe button. It's free so that you don't miss any of it. And with that, I must bid you all adieu and say goodbye and good night.